aqui do
Good evening, everyone. We'll be starting now our third day of workshops with Vitor Belota. He's an expert of ESG. I'm sorry if you're hearing any background noise because we are having a hackathon here and I have to be in two places at the same time. But without any further introduction, please, Vitor, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for your participation and I hope we have an amazing workshop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caio. Hi, everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, one of the things that I want to ask is there's no way that I'm going to speak with you guys for hours and no one has their camera on. Please, at least I don't know, like a few people. It's very weird to give a presentation or speech with zero like eyes looking at me. So thank you for those. I appreciate those that are turning on their camera. And I understand, of course, that some of you can't for any reasons, but I appreciate the ones who do it. I'm also curious to know like where are you guys from? I don't know if you have the time, but mostly people that are not from Brazil. I would love to hear from you. It can be either the chat or actually here, like you can say something. Just sharing a little bit about where you are and where do you study, like which university or even the course you do.
Hi, I'm Luisa. I have 20 years old and I study at ENIAC in Guarulhos.
Oh, thank you, Luisa. So we have Brazil. Anyone else? You guys can, I mean, if you don't want to turn on your camera and speak, you can just share also in the chat so I can have like a basic understanding like from where you guys are. Or even if you are here or just the Zoom is here, but come on, guys.
I'm from Brazil and I'm studying engineering, civil engineering, and also business administration. I finished my degree in civil engineering this year and 2023 business administration.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Nice to
my
meet
name
you.
is Celia Valenzuela. I'm from Peru. I'm studying industrial engineering at ISANA. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. Nice to meet you.
Hello, my name is Clarice. I'm 22 years old and I study business. I live in Resende, Rio de Janeiro, and I think it's that.
Thank you, Clarice. I'm Chris from Missouri State University in America, in the United States, right? Okay. And I'm studying international business with a minor in Chinese. Nice. I'm sorry that I can open my the camera. I come from the Northwest A&F University in China. Nice. So you have China, USA, and Brazil. Do you guys know if that's like Peru? So we have some Latin America and also Asia and United States. That's good. So I just wanted to have like this general idea. I think to start, I think one of the things that I want to share is that I don't want to talk about ESG or we have very how can I say that, but we have very technical names for the same thing. So basically when you hear sometimes sustainability or you hear even regenerative economy that some people talk about nowadays, or sustainability, I mean, sometimes they're all names to define the same thing, which in my opinion is how can we find balance in the way we do our economy and the needs and the restraints of the planet and the needs of society. So what I want to do with you is actually try to go a little bit deeper and talk not only about my experience that I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end of the conversation, but actually, in my opinion, what is the real question that we should be making, and what is the real conversation? You know, I think that we have so much misinformation, and actually, I just want to try to make it easier for you guys to filter all this information that comes to you when we're talking about sustainability and how companies are working in this sector, and also how is that connected to the Amazon, and how Amazon is important to our entire ecosystem. So feel free also to interrupt me and ask anything at any time. I will be like presenting, and sometimes I won't see the chat. So just let me know if you guys have any questions. You can open your mics and say anything, okay? I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. So just Cameline and Luisa is also saying, okay, she's studying postgraduate in digital marketing. Felipe, 19 years old. And he studies at Newton Paiva, which is in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. Nice. Let me share the screen with you guys. Just a second. So first, guys, just to give you also like an introduction about who I am and why am I here talking about that, just giving a basic introduction. I've been working with social entrepreneurship and social impact or sustainability or whatever name you want to call since I was 23 years old. Yeah, 23 years old. I started right after I finished my degree. I have a bachelor degree in business and another one in law, both from here in Brazil, one in the Federal University and the other one in the State one. And after I graduated, I decided to make a social internship, as they call at the time, and I went to Kenya with an institution called IASAC. I don't know if you guys have heard about IASAC, but it's an international organization run by students where they promote exchange experiences for like people from all over the world. And actually, this experience in Kenya, I lived that in Nairobi for 3 months and actually really changed my life. And then when I came back to Brazil, I decided that that would be my career, and I founded an NGO in Brazil called Litro de Luz, where we bring lightning solutions to isolated communities, not only in Brazil, but all over the world. I was the founder of the Brazilian chapter. And after that, I worked with social business from the Nobel Peace Prize, Mohamed Yunus. And I actually had this like opportunity to really go deep about how organizations can change society doing business, and that was the perspective that I didn't have when I was studying university, was to actually understand that it was not only responsibility from NGOs and the government to make social or environmental change, but actually there was a huge responsibility of businesses. And also as an entrepreneur, I can do both things at the same time. I can earn my money, like I can be profitable and etc. And at the same time, I can make a change, a better, I can make the society in the world a better place. And that was a connection that I've never had before in my mind, that I can do both at the same time. I know that nowadays it's very different probably at universities, but at my time, we didn't had any kind of subjects talking about sustainability in at least not in my courses, which was business administration and law. And then after that, I worked in many organizations, and then nowadays I work at the head of impact and sustainability in a group that is based in São Paulo. That works in very different segments, and one of them is the educational one, and we have 2 universities. One is Newton Paiva. There are some students here from Newton Paiva. And the other one is Facens, which is a university from Sorocaba. It's a city in São Paulo, in the state of São Paulo. So basically, that's my trajectory, and I will try to tell a little bit more as we move forward. But one of the things that I want to try with you all today is how can we really understand the problem that we have when we talk about sustainability, or when you talk about mostly climate change, which I think is connected with almost every other problems we have nowadays. And so the idea is that we can have this like U theory, like this U journey, where we're going to have a profound understanding of the problem. Then after that, okay, so now I understand the problem. I know how big of a deal is it. So now how can I have more perspective and understand the possibilities that we have nowadays, and what are the businesses and what are the organizations that are inspiring us to, sorry guys, I need to accept people here. They're still entering, sorry. Because I'm as host, I'm presenting at the same time, I need to manage that. So which organizations and companies are already inspiring us to work in this new economy, like in a more regenerative and sustainable economy? So what are the people that are already making a huge difference? And then, like, if we understand the problem and we have a more better perspective about how can we get out of that, so what can we do actually in practical terms to build this new economy and to emerge as a better society? So that's basically what I hope that we can accomplish together tonight. The time is short, but I try to move quickly, and I really hope that you guys can engage and participate with me. So first of all, I think one of the biggest problems we have is that the information that reach us nowadays, they usually come from all over the places, and many news there. Usually we have 2 reactions. People have 2 reactions towards these informations and these news, which is either for me, the problem is so big that I feel powerless to change anything, because the problem is like, like all the fires in California, or like that one in every animal, like the how do I say mammiferous in English, but mammals, I'm not sure, but so one in every animal, like 4 animals are in risk of extinction. And or like in Brazil, because we're going to talk a lot about Brazil, of course, we have like deforested over 500,000 football fields in the past 11 months. So those are very recent if like news. Or like we had the biggest storm in 1,000 years in China. So sometimes like those information, they are so alarming that we feel powerless to do something about it. That's very common. Or another reaction that is very common is to deny that and think that this is kind of a natural process, or like a natural cycle of the planet, that actually we as humanity, because we are very innovative and creative, we are going to figure out and create some solution that will actually solve the problems. And I think those are the most 2 common behaviors, and they are really bad in my opinion, because usually you don't make any kind of action when you are thinking like that. And we need nowadays people that are really like understanding the problem and taking action to solve that. So all these confused news, these numbers that we cannot even measure because they're so big, that's actually not very helpful if we don't have the knowledge, and we are not looking at that as how can I put all those pieces together. So when I go back there, how those fires in California, they are actually connected with the storm and the floods in Asia, in China, and how all of that is connected to the extinction of so many species, and how is that connected with the drought that we are having in Brazil nowadays. So actually, all of that is connected. And one of the things that I also hope here is that we can start putting those pieces together and having more systemic view, so we can actually create systemic solutions for them, because you cannot solve a complex problem with simple solutions. And to start, I think one of the important things is to understand that the base of the problem, and I like to start with that, like in the first like 5 minutes of the presentation, is actually that it's our economic model. Like this is that's the basic problem we have nowadays. So so you can have an idea, in our economic model nowadays, we consume resources from 1.6 planet. So we would need to have a planet 60 to 70% bigger, so we could consume the resources and allow them to regenerate at the same rates that we are consuming them. At 2050, which is like 30 years from now, we will be consuming, if we continue in the exactly same path we are nowadays, 3 planets. So guys, can you imagine like how much is like, imagine the size of the Earth. We need a 3 times a bigger planet in order to sustain our lifestyle. And that's an information from World Bank. And I think that's also an important thing. All the data that I'm bringing here, either I'm bringing that where the source of this data in the slide. And if I'm not doing that, you guys can text me, or you guys can just research the information that I'm putting, because all of them are coming from scientific sources and trustworthy sources, because one thing that we don't need nowadays is misinformation. And I really like the sentence of Kate Haworth, that she created this theory called the donut economy. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but it's really interesting. Her TED Talk, it's amazing. So you guys can write down that name, Kate Haworth, or donut economy, and then you can see a little bit more about her work. And she says one sentence that for me it's really spot on, which is, any being in an ecosystem that only seeks to grow without respecting the limits of its own system is analogy. Oh, that word is difficult. Analogous. Oh my God. Analogicamente. Como que eu falo isso em inglês? But you guys can read that. So, analogous. Oh my God. A cancer. So basically, it's similar to a cancer, right? So nowadays, our economy as it is, it's very similar to a cancer cell. Like humanity nowadays is a cancer to the planet. And I know that that feels harsh for some people. They recall ourselves a cancer, but that's statistics. This is a fact. This is not something that we can question. We are destroying our own ecosystem, and at some point, either the ecosystem will get rid of us, or we will all die together. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, for that, it's because we got very disconnected with how, like, how the things we consume are produced, right? So, like, just a provocation that I made to you guys is, like, do you have a deep understanding of how are those things here in the slides? And I could bring many more examples, and I won't go deep on them because we don't have time for that, and I don't think it's the main goal of today. But like the meats you consume, the like where it's how is it made, like how are they treated, and how is this industry? Also, like the cotton industry. When you look the cotton industry, as nowadays is one of the things that I study a lot, but in the pollution side of how much chemicals you need to use to plant the cotton is the worst kind of plantation on earth nowadays. So where is the cotton come from the clothes you wear? Like, do you know that? Most of people don't, and it's okay if we don't, because usually the industry doesn't want us to know, and we have, like, we don't study that at school, we don't study that at our universities and etc. So just do some more research about it. Like, how is the labor that actually is creating your clothes? Where is this labor coming from as well? This workforce, or we don't need to go only to this side of how those things are produced, but what are the nutrition aspects of the things we consume? And I'm not trying to judge anything here. I'm just provoking for us to question, like, what is inside a Coke? For, like, in Brazil here, there is a famous documentary that shows that many moms, they give a Coke in how can I say, like those small bottles that babies use. I don't know the name in English. We call mamadeira here in Portuguese. And or like they give those very sugar chocolate drinks to their kids as well. So, like, for me, it's really interesting when I start to go deeper in those industry and really understanding those industries. And a lot of times, even nowadays, which is I work with that my entire, like, for the past 9 years, I'm still, like, figuring out a lot of those things. So one of the things that I didn't know until this year was more, let's say an example, like the chicken industry. I didn't know a lot about it. Just to be clear, I'm not even a vegetarian. I'm trying to be. I'm, like, it's not easy for me, at least. But I'm much more conscious nowadays about where the meat that I eat comes from. But one information that I didn't know, even though I already consume organic meat and etc., was that when you think about eggs, like, no one has problems with eggs, right? And this year, I just got this information that felt weird for me, and I just wanted to share with you all that I didn't know that you have two different species for the chickens that put eggs, and actually the chicken that you're going to use their meat. Those are two different kinds of species, not species, I would say, but those two different kind of chickens, right? The ones that we have the meats, they have a bigger chest, they have bigger legs, because those things are more value for the meat industry. And the other ones, they're the chickens that put eggs, that they lay eggs. They are chickens that they lay eggs faster, and better eggs and bigger eggs, and etc. So two different kind of animals. And then one thing that I didn't know was that all the male chickens in the species that lay eggs, they have no use for the industry. So approximately 50 to 52% of all the eggs that all the chicks that are born on planets, they are disposed. In the first day they are born. So you have like those people that check if they are male or female, and if they are a male, they go through this process that they call maceration, mechanic maceration, where you put them in this kind of blender that is very strong and very fast, that in theory it wouldn't make them suffer in theory. And that was like, and I'm not still like the other chickens like that we consume for meat, they will also die at some point. But it just felt weird for me that this animal, in the first day that they leave, they're already put in this process, and after that, the industry used that as either as actually a kind of food composition for other animals, or actually to as a fertilizer for plantations and etc. And another thing I didn't know is that we put them in such small cages, the one that lay on eggs, that they create this behavior that they become, how can I say, the same species is cannibalizing. So they start to cannibalize their own species. Because they are very, very, very tight in the same place. So what the industry does nowadays is that they remove their beaks at the second that they are born as well. So the male ones go through this process that I just mentioned, and the female ones they go through this process where their beaks are the tip of their beaks are removed in these machines. A very quick process as well. And of course, that many of them die with this process because of infection, etc. So anyway, like a very some data, some information that I didn't know. And again, I'm not trying to convince anyone here to stop eating, but just try to understand the place you are consuming, if they do those practices, if they're not connected with your values, or which is what I try to do nowadays. And not only it's the problem is how we raise them, but I started to understand how all of that is also connected, like how the way we raise and consume these animals, how is that actually harming the planet and therefore ourselves? I didn't quite know how those things were connected. And one of the things that it's very scary, and I hope that one day you say, oh, that guy was wrong, and a lot of the scientists and these news were also wrong. But many scientists are saying that the pandemic of the super bugs or super bacteria, I don't know if I've heard about that, will be actually much, much worse than any kind of coronavirus crisis and etc. Nowadays, we already have, we treat our animals, these animals that we consume, we treat them with so much antibiotics. And at the same time, so I just need to admit some people here. Okay. Just a second, guys. Okay, I got it. Not only we give them so much antibiotics, and actually we self-medicate a lot also with antibiotics, then we are creating this super resistant bacteria. And nowadays, we already have around 700,000 deaths a year from infections that are resistant to antibiotics. And the scientists, and again, you can see El País or like these other news, I just got them like from 5 days ago. So in the count before the superbug storm, the world needs to prepare. There is estimated that in 2050, we will have approximately 10 million deaths a year that will actually bypass cancer or diabetes. So for me, that was like, whoa, I also didn't know that. And it's very connected for the way we treat our animals. And one more thing that I didn't know was that 70% of every disease that humans have nowadays they had the source was animals, like again, because of the way that we treat the animals. And for me, that was really scary and actually made me rethink about how much meat I consume in my daily routine. And I have a family. I'm gonna show you guys later my family, but just I need to admit one more person. And also, like, how am I going to, like, teach my daughters what to eat? As a father, I at least I feel that I have a huge responsibility about the behaviors and the customs and the lifestyle that my kids will have. So this is something that I question a lot nowadays, and I'm just sharing with you guys how I feel about this. And when you see like the coronavirus, the source, the coronavirus, we don't know for sure. Of course, the source, it's a very polemic matter. But when we see like the influenza virus, it was created also in these wet markets in China. It was a mix of like this kind of bird and with a pig that actually created a virus, and which is the most common kind of how can I say, breathing virus that we have. It's not breathing virus, I don't know how to say that, but it's the most common kind of flu we have nowadays in the world is influenza. And also the coronavirus, people say that was it was originated in a wet market, right, in Wuhan, in China. But also one of the things that I don't want to do is to put the blame on China and actually on these wet markets, because we need to understand also how we got there, like why those wet markets existed. So at least from what I study, and I would love if someone from China were here and could correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the things that I studied to understand more about those wet markets is that at one point in China, the poverty, like, it was such a problem that the government allowed people to raise these wild animals as food, and because they actually suffering from hunger. So they authorized it, because at the beginning it was not authorized. So they authorized the existence of those wet markets. And of course, that the regulation and how the sanitation of those places were happening, it was not something that the Chinese government controlled. And then the idea is that many diseases start happening because those animals are put in, like, they put in a very unsanitated place with, where they are like extremely stressed with all the deaths around them from other animals are the same species, and a lot of them are very intelligent creatures as pigs and other animals, mostly mammals. And that stress, it's already scientifically proved to promote diseases. And also they are peeing themselves, they are making all their necessities all over themselves. So all these problems is a very how can I say, viable environment for those diseases to happen. And of course, if we want to raise all those animals, we also need to have land. Deforested native rainforests, if at the same time our lifestyle it's not coherent to that. So again, not saying that you should stop eating meat, but at least as a Brazilian, I can say that here in Brazil, a lot of people has these, they have these, this culture that if they're having a plate and there is no meat, there is not a real plate. So I need to eat some kind of animal protein in the breakfast, and then I have to have an animal protein in the lunch, and then also at dinner, which from my European friends, that's just nuts, because it's not something that common over there. And again, like when I started studying more, understanding how systemically that's a huge problem for the world, I started changing my behavior. And nowadays I eat 2 or 3 times a week I have 2 or 3 meals that contain animal protein. Only eggs that I actually consume more than that, to be honest. And I also started understanding like, okay, Amazon is in our backyard. Like from those people that study in Cesupa, it's actually right there. Like Belém is a place very near to the Amazon rainforest. It's in a state that contains a huge amount of the Amazon rainforest. And one thing that I didn't know is actually that the Amazon ecosystem, even though it's huge and it has a lot of diversity, it's actually a very fragile ecosystem. And one of the problems we're having nowadays is the possibility of desertification. And as Kyle can say, and I have many friends that have studied that, we are already seeing part of the Amazon becoming like a dry savanna. And I have like this video that I really like from the World Economic Forum that tells a little bit more about that and about Amazon and the importance of Amazon for the planet that I would like to share with you. I'm not being able to see many of you, so if you guys, I'm gonna play the video, and if you guys can just give me an okay if the sound is it's also there, okay?
The Amazon is very near a tipping point of savanization. If we continue deforestation, if we are unable to keep track or to control the global climate change, 50 to 70% of the Amazon will become a degraded savanna, will release over 200 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, making it almost impossible to reach the Paris Accord targets. We have to find a way to get deforestation and forest degradation to zero very soon, in a few years, and also to restore huge areas. The potential of forest products sitting there is tremendous. It's very large. There are good examples: acai berry, cacao, Brazil nuts. They have a much higher economic value today than with the traditional crops. So we have to find this new way of bioeconomy, a standing forest bioeconomy, making economic use of hundreds of forest products, making those products reaching markets all over the planet. This is our great challenge we have to save the Amazon. For instance, many indigenous leaders in the Amazon today, they want to get access to modern technologies. They are open. They see the possibilities of merging their knowledge on the potential of the forest with modern technologies. To save the Amazon, we have to preserve the forest. We have to enhance the economic value of the standing forest. And entrepreneurs, innovative entrepreneurs, are essential to make this path possible.
So one of the things that I find really interesting about Amazon is actually that nowadays we have deforested around 18% of its natural original land. And actually the scientists predict that if we get to between 22 and 25%, the Amazon will no longer be able to sustain its own water cycle. and that actually will make a snowball. I don't know how to say that, but that will make the Amazon around 50 to 70%, as he said in the video, become a dry savanna. So we really need to act very quickly when we're talking about the Amazon rainforest, mostly because if we get an example of the word, nowadays more than half of the world's rainforests are already gone. And the Amazon rainforest is something that, in my opinion, the entire world should be, and in my opinion, is already is extremely worried about it. And a lot of people sometimes have this feeling that, oh no, but this is, I mean, this is actually not very much true, or like this global warming and etc. So I just want to bring some interesting data to you guys. Like nowadays, we have in emissions 51 billion tons of CO2, or like what they call the greenhouse emissions, the greenhouse gases, like 51 billion tons a year. A lot of times, like, because it's a gas, we don't actually understand. And you know that joke that says, what is heavier, like one like kilo of cotton or 1 kilo of iron? I mean, they're both 1 kilo. There is no one that is actually heavier. So when we think about 51 billion tons of gases, this is actually 51 billion tons, which represents 30 billion cars. So can you imagine that if every year we saw like 30 billion cars go into our atmosphere? And then when you really understand like how this process occurs, you start to understand that it's already proven scientifically that the global warming is completely connected with the human actions on the planet. So you have an idea, in the last 10,000 years, it took 10,000 years for the Earth to get 1 Celsius degree warmer, 10,000 years. Then we reached it after 1900. So it took us 100 years to reach more 1 Celsius degree. And nowadays we have a forecast that by 2100, if we do not act, if we stay exactly as we are with the same regulations we are nowadays, we will have a 4 degrees raise by then. And then like already people say, oh, but it's just like 1 degree. But it's okay, it's just 4 degrees. And then an analogy that I like to do is imagine this planet as our body, which in my opinion has many connections. We are both living ecosystems, and actually very fragile ecosystems. So if you have like the normal temperature in your body is like around 36 Celsius degree. If you get warmer like 1 degree, that's fine. I mean, that's 37, you're still doing fine. But then if it gets 1 more, then you are like 38 degrees Celsius fever, and that's like a bad fever already. Like you're feeling actually really bad, and you're probably thinking about taking some medicine if you have to. But then if we actually get to 40 or 41 degrees, you need to run to the shower to get a very cold shower, and then afterwards you need to go to a doctor or take like really heavy drugs, because you are about to die. Like 41, 42 degrees, you are dead. And that's actually what is happening to our planet, and we deeply need to understand that. And of course that this economic model we have and has other kinds of pollutions, right? So when you talk about plastics, 300 million tons of plastics waste every year. That's the same amount as all the human beings on Earth. That's the weight of all the human beings on Earth, like putting being like becoming a waste every year. We have approximately the same amount of tons of heavy metals and other toxic waste from industrial facilities dumped in our waters. I mean, again, I could bring over and over those news. I just want you guys to understand how actually all of that is connected. And one thing that I didn't knew, that this probably is going to be news for you guys, it's one problem that humans are facing right now with microplastics. I don't know if you guys have heard about microplastics. If we were in a live audience, I would ask you to raise your hands, but we are not. So the microplastics, they're like these very, very, very tiny particles of plastics that actually come out of our clothes, come out of our furnitures or our books, or like actually from the tires of our cars, and it's everywhere. It's in the air that I'm breathing right now. I'm breathing microplastics, and so are you. We consume nowadays, and that's from a research from the University of Newcastle, 4 credit cards per month of the amount of plastic that we put in our bodies. They have found in this research microplastics in babies' placentas. They have found microplastics in the most isolated areas on Earth, in the Arctic. And so it's actually in the scientists' opinions everywhere. And the problem with that, okay, so what's the problem about us consuming microplastics? Because usually these microplastics, they're very, usually they have some kind of chemical attached to them, some kind of heavy metal connected to them. And this is already being proved by the scientists to have very close connections to how can I say that in English? I don't know the exact way to say in English, but mental disabilities. So from Alzheimer to Parkinson, and actually the scientists nowadays are doing a lot of studies if they can connect microplastics to autism. So it's a huge problem that we don't even understand already the size of it. And this is already affecting our society in many, many ways. So I live in a shore place. I live like in Florianopolis. It's an island in the south of Brazil. And for me, when I think about my children, actually, when I think about my house, because I live near the beach, not that near that I'm worried like in a few months, but I'm actually worried in general, because also the science already predicts that half of the world's beaches will disappear by the end of the century. And of course that you guys can imagine the impact on our economy, and mostly for tourist countries and cities around the world. How will these affect people? And actually in a place very near to my house, which is a beach called Morro das Pedras here in Florianopolis, we already seeing this movement where the local government already removed approximately 30 families from the beach that their houses already being consumed by the ocean. So again, this is connected with social problems. So it's not only like, oh, it's not only affect the planet, but it will have a huge impact on us. One of the things that we don't hear a lot about are the heat waves, which is another silent killer. So the scientists estimate that by the end of the century, we can have millions of people dying from the heat waves, mostly in Southeast Asia, where the humidity is so big that when the temperature goes over 65 Celsius degree to 70 Celsius degree, the air is 100%, the humidity is 100% in there, and your body can no longer sweat, and that doesn't allow the exchange of heat from your body to the outside, and that creates a process that it's like a fever. And then this is how people in the Southeast Asia mostly are dying from heat waves, and that's a huge problem that the scientists already worry about it. And again, if you guys look back, scientists already predicted the possibility of a pandemic like coronavirus, right? So again, like we need to hear what scientists are studying so we can take action from now. Another problem that was very surprising for me was how this actually, the climate change is actually impacting the refugee crisis on Earth. So these news from National Geographic, this study from National Geographic, this research, I really recommend you guys to have a look on that. That connects actually the climate change as the biggest reason that sparked the Syrian war. So basically, they had such a severe drought in the country that many people from the south of Syria, like millions of people, they were what as we call climate refugees. They had to move to the capital, and once they got to the capital, the situation was already politically so fragile that these different ethnies and cultures already they also conflicted, and that was the reason, uh, uh, according to this research, to spark and start the Syrian war, which became the worst refugee crisis we've ever had on Earth. And again, guys, I know it's a lot of information. I don't know even if I'm being able to connect them and try to create this systemic approach that I want. But if I need to go back to one point, I just want to go back to one point that this is due to how our economic model works. So if you have an idea, nowadays, the 1% richest people on Earth earns 2 times the income of 6.9 billion people. So if you like nowadays on Earth, we have 7.7 billion people. Can you imagine that the 1% richest people earns twice the income of 6.9 billion people? I mean, that shows that we have not only like a gap, we have abyss. How do I say abysmal is abyss? I don't know, but we have like this huge gap in society. The inequality is much higher than we actually imagine. Mostly the people here, that correct if I'm wrong, but I assume that most of the people there in this call, they come from privileged background somehow, because everyone have their privilege. And I can talk by myself, like the reason that I'm here and talking with you guys today, it's not only because I worked hard, but actually my privileges brought me here for many reasons. Like I was able to study good universities and I had private education. I come from a middle class family in Brazil that could provide me everything that I needed. So the opportunity to travel to Kenya to become a social entrepreneur without being paid for the first years of my work. And actually I'm white, I'm male, I am straight. So all those privileges actually made much easier for me to achieve, let's say, a successful career. Also, because what is successful? It's another thing we need to question. But on average, so you can have an idea, here in Brazil, the lowest income class, the 10% lowest income class in Brazil, they need to take, it takes them 9 generations to reach the average income of a Brazilian. So that means like we have to wait, like a family like that, statistically, they have to wait for 170 years to be able to have the average income of the Brazilians. So again, when you talk about meritocracy, I mean, how weird is that concept with this social gap that we have nowadays? This is a term that, in my opinion, was created by privileged people to justify where they are. But it's not about privilege. It's not about meritocracy. It's about where were you born, and that actually will define most of your life. And when you talk about hunger, like 931 million tons of food were discarded in 2019. And I could go on and on here with data, but one thing that really worries me is that the WHO, the World Health Organization, is already predicting that hunger will actually increase in the next years, then actually decrease, because of the climate change affecting the production of food in the biggest bread baskets that we have on Earth, like Brazil, China, United States, Europe. They are the biggest food production countries on Earth, and the climate change is really affecting those places. And people that don't have money to afford food, they start actually to go and starve or get really hungry. And in Brazil, we are already living there. The price of the meat here is extremely expensive, the price of the rice, and we are having a huge food crisis in Brazil as we are talking. And again, in my opinion, all of that I'm bringing to you, all this scary data, all this natural problem of our economic mindset about we only think about growth and individualism. That's still, unfortunately, that's still the standards of how we do business in Brazil, and not in Brazil, but in the world. This will actually have huge effects on people. So these are some data from Brazil, but actually we can also make an analogy for every country on earth nowadays. So all of you know the increase of depression, the numbers of suicides increasing year after year, or anxiety. Like I was talking with some students from United States some months ago. They were 120 students also in a speech like that. And they started sharing with me how is anxiety like in United States. And for me, that was crazy, like with all the medicines. And actually in high school, they had friends that were like dealing medicines illegally because it's a huge thing in the United States. And I didn't have that knowledge, at least not that deep understanding of the problem in the United States, but as it is in many other places on earth, because you cannot have a healthy society in a dying planet. So basically that summarized for me what is happening. I need to approve someone here again. Okay. So first of all, sorry for all those data and all those information. I don't know how that make you guys feel. I just want to say that from now on, the presentation will get better and lighter. I mean, we do have, that was like the descent of the U, so we can have a deep understanding of the problem. But now also, like, I just want to provoke you guys to think, which at least for me, and maybe it's because of my age, of course, you guys are younger than me. But I just ask yourselves, like, I just want to ask that you ask yourselves, how old will you be in 2050? Just make this really, really basic math. So nowadays I'm 32, I will be 62 years old in 2050, approximately. And how old will a young person you love be? Like in my case, I have a family, as I told you guys. I have a daughter. Her name is Luna. She's 2 years old. And I'm about to have my second daughter, which she will be born. The due date is December 4. So I mean, very, in very short time, I will be a father of 2 daughters. And that will, they both will be like 30 years old or 28 years old approximately when, no, 32 and 30 years old in 2050. And when I think about what life I imagine for them, it's very scary to me when I hear, this is my family, by the way, so you guys can actually see them, but this is my wife, Amanda, and this is my daughter, Luna. And here in the belly, which nowadays is a much bigger belly than this one, it's my other child. And when I think about their future, to be really, really honest with you guys, it worries me and gives me anxiety as well, because for the first time, scientists are predicting that we are going to have not only for the first time ever in humankind, that first it happened in the United States, which actually the life expectancy decreased from 1 year to the other one. So we are seeing a scenario that the life expectancy is decreasing, but also for the life quality that people will have will probably be much worse than the one we had if we do not act about it. So I want to give a 5-minute break because I think breaks are important. So you guys can do whatever you want. And we come back in 5 minutes. And I just want you guys to have this break, just thinking a little bit about a young person you love, or if you really love yourself, just think about yourself. But I just think about a young person you love, and what is the life quality that you hope for that person. So we come back in 5 minutes, okay? Hi guys, I'm back. I will wait like 2 more minutes because I know that people maybe are hearing my voice and then are coming back little by little. Guys, I'm usually very honest, and I need to be honest. I really miss live speeches, and oh my god, I hate online speeches. But it gives the possibility to talk from people from all over the world, so that's good. But again, like people that are coming back and wants to turn on their cameras, I really appreciate that. So special thanks to, I think it's Mai, which is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
says he's
My,
still on. So it's special thank you to you and Laiza, right? They are with their cameras on. Thank you guys. I'm going to start again, okay, guys? So hope you guys enjoy the break. And as I told you, in theory, it will get lighter from now on. Like, so, okay, we understood the problem, and actually, we need to face how big of a problem it is. Like, I read this book this year from Bill Gates that it's called "How to Avoid a Climate Disaster," and he actually has this sentence that summarize what we need to face, which is basically we need to accomplish something huge that we've never done before, much faster than anything we've ever done. For that, we need breakthroughs in science and engineering. We need to build a consensus that doesn't exist and create public policies to drive a transition that wouldn't happen otherwise. So basically, I mean, I just also I'm gonna show the new story, the bright side now, but I just don't want you guys to go out of here thinking, okay, like it was just a narrative. The problem is not actually being solved and everything's going to be all right. No, the challenge is huge. For a lot of scientists, they say that this is a crucial decade that we are living right now. So again, I hope that those solutions inspire you guys to have a very regenerative and sustainable mindset for everything you do, not only for Amazon experience or for your job, but in your life in general. So what do you consume in general? I really hope that this process is helping you guys to question some of the humanity's behavior. But okay, can we change? Like, how did we get here and where do we want to go? So I think that it's really important to know both, right? Like, okay, how did we get here? So what was the mindset that brought us to here? And okay, can we go through this change, this very hard change? But then we need to understand where we want to go, like what we want to where do we want to be in the next, like at the end of the century, as an example. So I have like this beautiful video that in my opinion has a very spot on approach about how we got here, that I really hope you guys can enjoy and follow. Just again, if Liza and Mai, which is like you guys are, I mean, the camera, if you guys can give me an okay if the sound appears, I appreciate.
We have seen how our modern way of life is not sustainable. In order to change the direction we are heading, we need to understand how we got here in the first place. How did the human species become such a destructive presence on the planet? How did we get here?
The primary problem with Western civilization is that it creates and perpetuates a radical separation between the human world and the natural world. That we've given all the rights to the human and no rights to the natural world. We think we're behaving very rationally, that we're on this kind of logical economic course, but actually we're heading toward our destruction, and the only way to explain it is that we've been locked into a kind of mythic entrancement, a worldview that's become dysfunctional and therefore destructive.
Indigenous people would call this trance the dream of the modern world. This dream could also be called our worldview or our cultural story. A cultural story doesn't seem like a story at all. It seems to be just the way it is. Like glasses we've worn so long we don't even know we're looking through them anymore. It is held in place and reinforced by a whole set of unexamined assumptions. For example, people assume that polluting the environment is an inevitable byproduct of progress, or that economic growth will necessarily leave some people behind. All of the crises we face today could be seen as the unintended results of the unexamined assumptions that permeate our cultural story, as well as our own thinking and behaviors.
That video is amazing, right? It's a longer video, but I just like cut it. I trimmed a shorter part of it, so it wouldn't, like, you guys can research more about this video later. But I think that this is actually one of the reasons, like this mindset, these unintended assumptions that we make. As the video says, it's perfect that for me, like those glasses that we have for so long that we don't even know. Like I like to say that a lot of people, let's say in the slavery time, for them that was just something normal, right? I mean, some people were not even mean. I mean, they were raised. Can you guys imagine, like in Brazil, we had slavery from like the first sheep around here arrived here in Brazil approximately in 1512, right? The slavery was abolished in Brazil in 1888. So can you guys imagine, like for more than 350 years, more than that, 360 years, we lived, like we had slavers in Brazil. So again, like for a lot of people, that was just normal. Like that's the glass that I'm wearing and I'm not even questioning that. So for me, I always try to think, okay, what people from 200 years from now, or like 300 years from now, they will look back and say, oh my God, how they were not seeing that? Like what glasses are we wearing right now that are people in the future will question as something outrageous? And like, at least is for me, I cannot understand how can someone is make another human being a slave, right? For me, that just doesn't like fit into my mind. So what's going to be in the future? In my opinion, I have an opinion about it, but one of them is how we raise animals. Like that would be something crazy for people's mind. They say like, how, like really they did that, like the process and the killing and the life quality of those animals. And one of the reasons is because those people, they will have the protein from different places. They will no longer need to eat animals in order to have their protein intake. And even in the taste aspect, because nowadays we already have vegetable sources of protein, right? But even in the flavor aspect, we will have like similar solutions. So one of the things that I like to provoke is in this picture that you see right now, like, what do you guys see here? Like, Liza, what do you see when you look at this picture?
After the first video today, I see my tears, but just an hamburger now. Food.
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, and let's be honest, okay, for me at least, what I see here is like a delicious hamburger. This is my favorite food on earth. This is the same thing that I like the most. Like I stopped. I don't eat red meat anymore. I just eat fish. That's basically what I do. But from now, like sometimes, to be really honest with you guys, when I'm going out with my friends and we go to a burger place, I just can't hold it because it's my favorite food on earth. Like I love hamburgers. I mean, I just do it. And most of you guys probably also do that. But nowadays, we can actually have a very similar taste with a very similar experience with uh, vegetable protein source as hamburger. So actually what you're looking at this photo is it's not meat, it's not animal meat. This is actually what they call impossible burger. This it's a very scientific and innovative kind of way to produce those I don't know, they call it impossible burger or the burger for the future. And actually I've tasted many times, and nowadays it's the ones that I buy when I eat at home. Like they cost around, like at least in Brazil here, it's like R$ 6 each, which is much expensive, much more expensive than others. But actually that's not that expensive, right? If I have the privilege to buy a hamburger, that's not that expensive. And the taste would, I'm sure it would surprise most of you guys. You have your hands raised, right? You can talk.
Yeah, I think we just have a lot of prejudice with a lot of things that we say that are healthier or better for the environment, not only food speaking, but everything that we say. Once I was with my friend at Burger King, and she ate a vegetarian burger, and it was way better than mine. And I was like, it's not possible. And it was. But I think we just have this kind of mindset where we think that it's way too, it's a, we have to deny something for ourselves when we try to do better for the environment or for other people or for the animals. But actually we can really get a privilege with it, not like, oh, I'm suffering. We are just like too spoiled, and we can't handle hearing no, but it's way better for everybody.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You know, there is an actually a TED speaker that I really like him. He's a social entrepreneur, very successful one. His name is Dan Pallotta, and he says something that I really agree. Like he says that the problem is that we created and again, this is not, I'm not criticizing churches or religions or anything. I'm just naming a fact. But uh, uh, most of religions, they connect doing good, that doing good is only it's only recognizable, it's only worthy if you're suffering, right? So a lot like, like the Franciscans priests. I mean, you need to deny yourself of many things in order for them to be authentic and to be honest. And he actually makes a connection, for, in my opinion, is a genius connections, that about how these religion mindset actually makes much harder for social environmental change. So I just when you say that, it just connected me with these thoughts. He has a TED talk that is amazing, which is called um, uh, "The Way We Think About Charity Is That Wrong." It's beautiful. You guys can watch. The way we think about charity is that wrong. So again, like new assumptions, like a vegetarian burger can be like even better at Burger King than the meat one, or like you can actually buy and take to your house, or nowadays I try to cook and but for those that want the blood and really wants to have a very similar experience, you can already have that because AI is growing so fastly that actually what they do is they study every component of a natural meat, a natural hamburger, And using vegetable sources, they can recreate that in an almost, nowadays, in an almost perfect way. And in a very near future, I will even dare you guys to differentiate when you're eating like a meat burger and a vegetarian one. And mark my words, this is something that I can put my hand on fire. I'm really like certain about that. But then now, and guys, like really sorry if I'm picking your names just because you guys are with cameras on. So Maya now is with you. So what can you explain me that sentence which is saying, I don't know how a frigorifico means, but it says slaughterhouse or like meat house, I don't know, but the place that they kill animals. So basically it's saying like the place that kill animals that produces meat, chicken meat, without killing any birds. Like, can you try to explain that for me? How can I produce chicken meat without killing any birds or any chickens, right? It's tricky, so don't worry if you don't know it.
I think that the industry that create that, they is related with vegetable ingredients, and they also can make fail meat. It's not really chick, but it's very similar with the
Fake
real
meats, yeah.
one.
Yeah. Nice, nice. Thank you, thank you. I mean, this is actually the last one. So this is what we can call fake meat because it's vegetarian, right? So actually it's vegetables that are actually you can use like beetroots, and you can use other ingredients, soy and etc. to create those hamburgers. But actually what I'm meaning here, it's actual meat. This is an actual chicken meat. But you don't need to kill any animal to have a real like animal meat. So what I'm going to show you today is something that the industry is already like betting and investing a lot. And most of the famous entrepreneurs as Bill Gates or any other that it can comes to your mind, they're already investing in what they call lab grown meats. And I'm going to share a video with you guys that are going to, it's going to tell a little bit more about how it works.
The meat of the future will likely be lab-grown. Compared to our conventional methods of getting meat on the table, lab-grown meat, which debuted in 2013, doesn't involve slaughtering of animals, nor does it require as many environmental resources. Compared to other livestock, raising cows require 28 times more land and 11 times more water. The World Wildlife Fund adds that beef production drives 25% of global land use and forestry emissions. And in the near future, lab-grown meat is going to be cheaper, faster, and more environmentally friendly to produce for our growing population. But how exactly does one grow meat in a lab? The process isn't as weird as you might think. Currently, the most successful method involves harvesting stem cells from cows. Stem cells are the building blocks of essentially everything, from muscles to organs, from which muscle tissue is harvested from the live animal in what is said to be a harmless, painless procedure. The tissue is made up of muscle and fat cells, which the scientists separate from one another. What we need are the muscles, which are then dissected and cultured. Cell culturing is where a cell is removed from a plant or animal and then put into a favorable artificial environment, usually some type of substrate that supplies essential nutrients like amino acids and carbohydrates to grow. All it takes is just one singular muscle stem cell to grow up to 1 trillion muscle cells. The newly grown muscle cells naturally merge together to form tiny myotubes, which are then placed in a ring. The muscle cell's tendency to contract frequently causes them to grow into a small strand of muscle tissue. The muscle tissue tubes are then layered together to form a hamburger shape. One muscle cell has the potential to turn into 1 trillion muscle tissue strands, which is a lot of burgers. The lab-grown hamburgers don't quite look like normal hamburgers and are much paler in color and blander in taste. But as scientists point out, that blander taste is a fair trade for an efficient way to create protein and feed the world's growing population. The price of lab-grown hamburgers has already dropped from $325,000 to just over $11 per patty, While it is still pricey compared to a Big Mac, which costs $4.79 on average, the price will likely drop in the future as production methods are streamlined, meaning that more likely than not, lab-grown meat will be on your dinner plate in the near future.
That's very interesting, right? And actually nowadays, the technology to do those, they using the same AI technology that they do with the vegetarian ones, they can, even though that if you just how can I say, create the hamburger with the natural cells, it's blendering taste, but actually then you can use the same components that give flavor to the vegetarian one to this one, and then actually becomes extremely tasty as the other ones, as a natural one. And I really like science fiction. And I mean, when you watch like Star Trek or Star Wars, a lot of times when they are eating, like they push a button and then like an apple come, or like a meat just appears. Like, and actually the idea that in the future, that's what is going to happen. Like maybe you're going to have a machine in your house that you're going to say, now I want a chicken hamburger or whatever, like I want a chicken whatever, and then you're going to click there, and then with 3D printing, it will print the meat as you want. So you're going to have tubes, let's say a fat tube, a muscle tube, and whatever. And then when you do that, it can print, and this already exists, but it's extremely expensive. They can print, let's say, a T-bone steak for you, and it's everything there is made without killing any animal. So for me, that's really crazy. But mark my words, again, in a near future, and I believe that in my lifetime, we are going to see lab-grown meats much cheaper and actually being used much more than regular meats. And in the future, if you really want to have, let's say, a natural steak coming from a cow, you're gonna have to pay a huge amount of money to be able to have that. Liza, you have your hands up, so I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it's very nice to think that we can find a balance between what society did in the past and what we can do in the future, so we can have a sustainable place. Like, there was a blogger that I forgot the name now, that she started a business that was like a farm that they sold like products there, like honey and milk and all those things. And I think as much as we can get those things naturally, the better it is. So as far as it can get in the past with those things, I think it would be better for us. But the future holds so much as science, with science and all those things. And it's so amazing to think that we can look into the past and to the future and find like hope, and that's very like calming, because it's so scary sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. And I think an interesting thing about what you said is that you guys know Yuval Harari, right? Like he's of this very famous historian that he has written Sapiens and Homo Deus and many other famous books. And he says something that I really like, that he says that in his opinion, actually, the society that we have nowadays, like if we compare humanity as one person, it's like as from now into the past, we were living our childhood and our teenagehood. So when you're a child and you're a teenager, like you don't actually understand and care about how much you are taking care of your body and your system and or whatever. Like you are more reckless about those things. But for Yuval, we are getting in our adulthood as humanity, because nowadays, for the same time, mostly because of the information era we are living right now, where information is very abundant, we are getting to really understand the consequences of what we are doing. So when you think about climate change and everything, that has happened in the past 100 years. So it's very recent. 100 years in the past, we didn't have global warming as we are having nowadays, not even close. The growth of population, everything. So actually, it's very recent, and I like to have this more tolerant approach about society. I think that we didn't know for a long time how badly things would get, and now we know. So we need to take, a step towards change very quickly. But it's not only innovation in science that can save our problems and actually regenerate society or the planet. Right? One of the best examples I have is from Grayson Bakery, which is a B Corp. I don't know if you guys know what a B Corp is, but do some research afterwards. It's like a stamp that you have that shows that you are very conscious about many aspects of your organization. And they created the Grayson Bakery is the supplier of brownies for Ben & Jerry's, which is also another B Corp. But the story about why Ben & Jerry's changed their old supplier to Grayson Bakery, it's very interesting. It's because the way they hire people. So the way they hire people, it's very, very innovative, but very, very simple. So basically, if you want to be hired at Grayson Bakery, what you do is you go there to the factory and you just put your name on a list. Okay, you just put your name on a list. And when the next person or the next name is called, they are already offering the job. They don't do any, they don't ask any questions. They don't ask if you can read. They don't ask if you have been in jail. They don't ask your sex or your gender orientation. They don't ask anything. They just offer you your job. And that made stories like this one that I'm going to show to you guys possible. Just please pay attention to this video. It's beautiful.
So the model's pretty simple. The doors that you all came in today to get to the bakery are the same doors that people come through. They put a name on the list, and when we have a job available, we take the next person off the list and we give them an opportunity.
Ever since I can remember, my mom's worked. She did 2 jobs in one for years and couldn't provide for her family. I didn't see things getting better, so at the age of 14, I started selling drugs. I just felt as though I had to do what I had to do to help my family, you know? I was back and forth in jail. I sold drugs to females that was pregnant, to people I know, moms and fathers. Just picturing that, like, man, what we was doing. We was bringing down our own community. Like, I didn't like the person I was. And I wound up doing a 4 years. In jail, I had a whole lot of time to think and reflect on life. I knew life wasn't about being in a cell. It was just time. It was just time. I changed my ways. I came home with nothing, not a dime. I was looking for employment. Nobody would hire me. I went through weeks and weeks of rejection. And a friend I had reminded me about Grayson, the bakery, with that open hiring process. I put my name on a list for a job. One day I was riding around with my friend. I got a call like, you wanna come to work? And I came alive. My first day at work, I was excited. I seen people that I knew. They was encouraging me because we all been through the same things. It was like, basically like being back on the block. I went from apprentice to lead operator and research and development. Now, recently, I just got promoted to supervisor training. I never thought that the baby could do this for me. I started my own family. I had my first child. It's crazy. I came home with nothing, not a dime. My mother and brother was holding me down. And 6 years later, to be in a position that I'm in, I'm not rich, no. but I'm happy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy.
Ah, baby.
Daddy was waiting for me.
You was waiting for me, right? Everybody deserves a second chance. You got to get to know people. When you give a person a job, you give a person a second chance at life.
One of my favorite memories was when we had launched our cookie product at Whole Foods, and we had made the decision to put team pictures on the brownies. And two of our team members were together at a holiday party, and one of them was already on a pack of cookies. And the other one said, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna be on the next package." And they looked at one another and they said, "Can you believe that 2 years ago we were in jail together? And now they're at the bakery doing jobs." That was awesome.
So like I really love this idea that with the simple things we can do profound changes, you know. I mean, you see, the only thing they did was that they have a very unusual hiring process. And of course, I'm not trying here to be naive and understand the difficulties of that. So let's say they have a foundation that help them, because if the person doesn't know how to read, in order for that person to get promoted later on, they must study with this foundation that support them, so they can learn how to read and how to write, and then they go and then they can get promoted. So again, it's not like they have a system there that allows this hiring model to flourish. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
ahead.
but I get so excited about it because it's so amazing how like if we get the crucial point of it, like people are not going to jail because they are mean or because they want to go to jail. They are going to jail because they don't have money to eat. So they do what they have to do to get food on their plate. It's not like, and if you get a job for a person that doesn't have money, you get their money. So like it seems so simple sometimes. Like
it's a natural consequence of
yes.
a system that has a disease, you know. Like again, we have an economic model that leaves people behind, and we have like this abyss from like this social gap that is so huge that it's a natural response of the system to have people breaking the rules, let's say breaking the laws, to try to achieve a better life. Again, I could go on and on. Like I've worked with in many slums in Brazil. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go to those stories. That we could talk more about it, but I just want to try to show you guys that simple things can do a big change. So in an environmental way, one of the cases that I want to show you, it's like Jusai. I don't know if you guys know that, but we have a kind of palm tree in Mata Atlântica, is the most biodiverse system on Earth, which is in Brazil. That has already like the deforestation. It only remains 12% of its natural regional land, Mata Atlântica, because it's where 70% of the Brazilian population lives. So it got very deforested. There's one tree that was almost being extincted because they have the hard palm, you know, that people eat, that very tasty and etc. So trees would be they were being cut down to in order to sell the hard palm in the markets and etc. And then like this company and many others, and of course there are many other efforts to save these species, created the same tree has an acai berry very similar to the ones you guys know from the north of the country, that is called Jussara. The name of this tree is Jussara tree, Jussara palm tree. And so they created a business that used this acai berry it was an innovative process. No one used that before them. And they started creating like the same kind of acai that you guys know, very famous in Brazil and nowadays all over the world. And it has actually even better properties, nutritional properties than the traditional acai. At least it's what they say. And it's nowadays a big B Corp also company here in Brazil, growing a lot and actually saving many actors and taking the Jussara tree out of the extinction list. And as you guys saw in the video, nowadays it's better and more profitable to have acai trees on your land or cocoa than to have like cattle or doing regular farming. Like it's acai, it's 4 times more profitable, and the cocoa tree is 6 times more profitable to have that in your land than cattle. So that's also why we have like chocolates like Ama chocolate that use only organic cacao, and they work with riverine communities, local people. They have a huge program with logistics to go to those people and actually uh, 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 work with them, so the money goes to them, not to third parts that sometimes are in the middle of this process. And it's my favorite brand of chocolates nowadays, and they do a beautiful job of regeneration in the Amazon rainforest. You guys can do some research later on, and they are organic and many other things. Okay, those companies are a bit smaller, right? Sometimes you haven't heard about them, like you say, Yanama. But then we can go to Natura, and when you go to Natura and Co, it's the 4th biggest cosmetic company on earth nowadays, and it's a Brazilian one. They bought the Body Shop, which is very famous. They have like, they're growing a lot nowadays, and so you have an idea. They also bought Avon. So this image is not even updated because they just bought Avon like 1 year or 2 years ago. And so you can have an idea, Natura already conserved 2 million hectares of forests, which is like equivalent. I don't like to give those numbers, but just so you have an idea, like it's equivalent to about 2.7 million football fields that they conserve doing what they call bioeconomy, right? So it's better for the local people to keep the forests alive and to profit from it than actually to otherwise put that try to cut down the trees and sell the wood. And they have like from Natura, almost 70% of all their ingredients comes from those communities. So they're doing like a beautiful job, and they are the biggest one of the biggest companies in Brazil, and they are the biggest and the first big corporation also in Brazil. And I can give you, I think, an interesting approach. I wouldn't show this video, but I think I will, even though it will take a little bit more time than I expected. But I think it's important for us to understand, when you guys are designing your projects for the Amazon experience, it's important to not think as the people that are deforesting the land as mean people, as evil people, and etc. Like, we need to understand that if we don't generate income source for them, and the only income source that they have, it's cutting down trees, they will do that. And I got to know many of those people. I'm gonna send this one of the videos to Kyle, so later on he can share with you guys. It's a beautiful video. But as I told you before, that I would tell a little bit more about my history. So I actually already visited and had many experiences in the Amazon, getting to know those people that were doing illegal timber activities, cutting down trees illegally, and etc. And it was very interesting for me to getting to know them and understanding that that was just a matter of survival for most of them. That's how it was basically the only way that they could do money. And as a society, if we don't look to that and try to generate new income sources, nothing will change. So I'm going to share a video about the work, and also how simple technologies, very simple technologies, can make a change. That's Little Flight Photo, Litro de Luz, the NGO that I founded here in Brazil, and in one of the projects that we did there. And I'm gonna share again my screen with you guys. Now it's like a YouTube video, but I have it open here. to tell a little bit about that story. And you guys, I want you to focus on two things, like basically how we try to empower the community to also, they need to be responsible for their success and their income. We are just assisting them. We're just a support for that. And also getting to know local people and how simple technologies can make a big change also, because maybe your idea will be a simple technology in this Amazon experience. So I'm going to share here this YouTube video. I put it in YouTube because it's in Portuguese and YouTube gives me like, it translates. So you guys seeing the YouTube page, right? Just to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen. Okay. So I'm going to reach, thank you. I'm going to reach play here now. I think it has no sound, right? Just give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Just one more second because it's really heavy, the computer here.
Desde o início, quando a gente começou a fazer o litro de luz no Brasil, há mais ou menos 2 anos e meio, a gente já tinha uma preocupação porque mais de 60% das pessoas que não têm acesso à energia elétrica no Brasil moram na região norte. Então sempre foi um sonho pra gente. Só que na época era um sonho muito distante e tinha que chegar até aqui, a questão logística era muito cara. Foi quando eu comecei a buscar recursos para isso de todas as maneiras que eu imaginava.
Eles não têm iluminação pública aqui. O que eles têm é um gerador que funciona a diesel e a prefeitura de Capiranga manda a metade para o mês. E a outra metade, tudo no escuro. O Vitor viu umas fotos nossas, dos trabalhos que nós fazemos aqui nas comunidades. Ele perguntou como é que ele faria para chegar aqui com 1 litro de luz. Ele pediu que nós viéssemos aqui fazer um mapeamento da comunidade de Dominguinhos. Quantas famílias, quantas casas, quem realmente queria, como queriam. E em cima disso ele montou um projeto.
Um dos prêmios que a gente se inscreveu, que era um prêmio na Escócia chamado St. Andrews Prize, entre mais de 510 projetos de 94 países. E a gente foi lá para a Escócia defender o título e a gente ficou em primeiro lugar. Foi o que viabilizou nossa vinda para a Amazônia.
Então eu vim para cá em julho para conhecer as comunidades, ver como eles vivem, se eles precisam de iluminação, se eles querem iluminação, que eu acho que é o mais importante. Só vindo e vendo mesmo é que a gente sabe como é a vida deles.
Muita gente às vezes não consegue mensurar a importância que a luz tem para o dia a dia, né, na vida.
Difícil essa energia que nós temos aqui, né? Porque é funcionado de 6 horas até 9 horas. Aí para 9 horas e fica o tempo todo no escuro. Aí só no outro dia 9 horas. Aí a gente tem que correr e fazer as coisas rápido, porque aí a gente chega do roçado cansada. Lá em casa nós somos 9 pessoas, 10 pessoas. Aí eu tenho que comprar 2 maços de vela, aí eu acendo assim ao redor de nós para nós comer, porque eu tenho muito medo de engasgo, né? A gente se engasgar aí é muito difícil. Aí vez nem tem aí para comprar e nem a gente tem aqui. Aí tem que comer cedo, por 5 horas, 4 e pouco. Aí se deita todo mundo cedo, porque fica tudo escuro.
Que o Litro de Luz faz é não só trazer a iluminação, a gente também quer capacitar os moradores, a gente quer replicar ao máximo a nossa tecnologia e a gente quer que o conhecimento permaneça aqui. O que a gente decidiu foi, a gente vai buscar representantes dessas comunidades e a gente convidou eles para vir aqui, para participar junto com a gente, para receber essa capacitação e essa formação o que a gente chamou de embaixadores, né? São os nossos representantes nas comunidades.
No início, né, eu achei um pouco difícil, mas aí eu fui estudando manual, aí se tornou mais fácil. Junto com os embaixadores, né, nos ajudando, para mim foi mais legal. Nós fizemos a ligação, né, que acendeu para mim, gostei demais, porque eu nem imaginava que ia dar certo, né?
Para cá foi desenvolvido um lampião. Eles vão saber todos os passos de como monta o poste, de como monta o lampião, dos circuitos.
A ideia do lampião é justamente porque os postes que a gente trabalha por iluminação pública, os postes de luz solar, eles ficam fixos para garantir várias questões, como segurança, você conseguir trilhar um caminho de luz mesmo, com iluminação, para que a pessoa possa caminhar tranquilamente. Mas a gente percebe que dentro de casa, muitas vezes as pessoas precisam mais ainda da energia.
Agora, no momento, ele tá sol, ele tá apagado, né? Aí, agora vai ficando escuro, ele vai acender. Tá vendo como acendeu?
de ganhar uma luz dessa. Só vocês mesmos para trazer pra gente.
Ah, fica escuro, né? Aí com a claridade aí já fica melhor, né?
Tá todo mundo feliz. Comunidade toda, né? Aqui e essas outras por aí também, eu acho que estão felizes.
Guys, I think one of the biggest learnings that I had from all this experience that Zero Flight allowed me to have is that and that's an advice that I give you if you're doing like projects in Amazon Experience or anywhere else. If you guys have seen the presentation again, right? Just to make sure. Yes, the order. Okay, thank you. Which is like if you really want to solve a problem in a community, the first thing that you need to do is to have a deep understanding of how this community lives, right? You need to really listen to them. There's a TED talk from Ernesto Ciroli that the title is "Wanna Help Someone? Shut Up and Listen." And I couldn't I could spend like 2 days only talking about that, the importance of trying to have that you must have the local perspective in order to do projects there. So when you're talking about Amazon and you have the Amazon experience now, you need to think about the energy. How can you have a clean energy if you're doing a project there? Because they don't have access to regular electricity mostly. The logistics, this community that you guys just saw, it took us 24 hours by boat to get there. In many communities, even more than that. So how are you going to do with logistics, with energy? And also like the day for them is their routine is much different. They wake up much earlier than we, and they go to sleep much earlier than we. So again, like how is all this culture will affect your project? So take that in consideration. And one thing that I really like also, I want you guys to nurture that in your minds is that we need to have, as Mohammed Yunus, he always says that there's an importance to talk about science fiction and social fiction. He said that science fiction, a lot of things we dream about, they ended up to happen, like we make them true. So when you watch the Jetsons, it's a very old cartoon, but some of you may know, like, so it was created in the 70s, and you see robots cleaning houses, or like they could talk with a television. All those things at that time, that was just nonsense. That was like magic. That was extremely futurist. And that nowadays I'm talking here with my computer with people from all over the world. So it's very important to have science fiction. At the same time, why when we're having social fiction, most of the things we get in touch as movies or books and etc., they have this very dystopia about the future, this post-apocalyptic thing, or like the world has no water, or like this a fiction we have with zombies and things like that. So he asked like, what if we imagine a better world? And he's very connected with that. How can we imagine an Amazon that will have no poverty anymore, and then people will like they won't need to. This is Mohamed Yunus, guys, if you don't know, but it's a Nobel Peace Prize. So how can we imagine a society, or like in our case, how can you imagine Amazon being sustainable, and actually it will start to be regenerate, not only destroy as it is right now. So guys, at this moment, like we are going towards the end, I would like to ask you, I created like this, I'm gonna send here in the chat. I created these, and I think this will help you guys with the brainstorming. Let me send here in the chat, just give me 1 second. Here, share. I just gonna get the link here. Copy link, copied, and I'm going to put in the chat right now. And I would like you, Kyle told me that you all have your Microsoft Meet rooms, and I would like you guys to go to those rooms. I don't know how many of you guys are in each rooms. And I'm gonna, here's the link. It's very simple. It's just a question about like, what did you, if you imagine like in 2050, a regenerative Amazon, with all these utopic scenario that you can imagine, what did you do like to regenerate the Amazon rainforest and make it sustainable? So if you have the thing that I want you guys to imagine is, imagine it's 2050 and you guys are telling children, a child that is talking to you, and that child is asking like, oh, how what did you do for the past 30 years that helped us to get here with the Amazon as it is right now, regenerated and etc. So I want you to have a brainstorm, and after this brainstorm that I asked you to be 10 minutes, I don't want to take much more time from you guys. I know it's late for most of us. So like we're going back, we're coming back in 10:15, and I would just share the screen with the responses that you guys have. So as a group, you guys can brainstorm and write a paragraph about what did you guys do in your projects to make us achieve this utopia when we are talking about Amazon. Okay, so you guys know about Microsoft Teams, or is everyone aware of what I'm saying? It is, right? Okay. So can you guys access the link that I sent? Like there is no code. You just access, and can you guys test for me? Is it working? Like in theory, you should just access. Yeah, okay. So I will be back at 10:16. Okay. So in 10 minutes I will be back, and then I will read the answers.
Is it one answer by the group, or each member can answer?
No, I prefer if it's one by for group, and if you guys can choose one person in the group to just read for us when we come back, just to read that sentence for us and about the answer. I appreciate that as well. Okay, so in 10 minutes we are back. Fala, pessoal, como é que vocês estão aí? Vocês sentem que vocês precisam de mais um tempinho? A gente já consegue voltar? Como que vocês estão?
Hey teacher, can you give us more 5 minutes, please?
Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, so we
Okay,
come
thank
back
you.
at 10:21. Hey guys, I'm gonna share here the answers. We had like 7, but I don't know. I think that 4 of them. How many groups you guys are? Do you know how many groups?
8.
8. Okay. Let me see here. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say 5 answers, unless let me show you. Let me share the screen. Oh, someone is okay. Just a second. I think I need to allow someone in again. Oh my gosh. 3 people. I think I don't know why, but anyway. Let me share the screen here with you guys. It's because 2 of those answers, I don't know, I think they were like individual answers. One is just like save water. So I don't know if that was a group. But let's have a look on them, and then I think we can be, my idea is like we can just read them, and then after that, we can have like 10 minutes of conversations. You guys can ask anything, like we can talk about them. And I think the most important thing is already like, I hope that we could have like these questioning ourselves. Like, I hope that we achieve the idea of this workshop was to have a deep understanding and more clarity about the opportunities we have. And I hope that also you guys felt inspired at the end about how can we make a change. So, to start, I think we can start with this one here in the last one. If the group who wrote this one can read, I appreciate this one here. You guys can see my mouse, right? Okay. So which group wrote this one here to combat the activities and etc.? Someone can read that. I don't know which group was it, so I need to wait for you guys. Or any of you that want to start. I don't know if it can be the other ones here, like working together. Or what we did was change the business model. Just anyone willing to talk. Okay, so let's start with group 2. Come on, guys, you are all like, that's why I don't like online. But let's go with group 2. Who is group 2? And if someone there can read yours, because the only group that actually wrote their name here. Come on. In the chat, someone say the red ones.
I'm from group 1, but if you want, I can go first. There's no problem.
Okay, which one is yours?
What we did was change the business model.
Okay, so please go ahead.
What we did was change the business model to a more sustainable one, making the producers and entrepreneurs realize that we could aggregate more value and be more sustainable in the long time, being more conscious with the use of our resources. That's what we thought, to change like the business model and the way of thinking about the business of the Amazon and all the other regions in Brazil and other countries.
That's really nice. I think that it's very connected with what we said before, like the videos and etc. I think one perspective that is important to understand about business model there, apart from everything that we already saw, is that the business model in the Amazon River area nowadays, like a lot of times when you're talking about acai or any of those industries, this bio industry, let's say, it's very common that you have like a third part. I don't know how I would say the name in English, but it's like a third part that is the intermediary between the producer and the buyers. And a lot of times the profits, they stay with this intermediary instead of the producers. So it's a good way when you guys are thinking about business model is how can I take the product directly from the producer to the buyer, so you can actually increase the sustainability model, the profit of the producer, which is actually the one we should be looking at. So thank you for sharing.
I just have a question. This third
Yeah,
party
please.
you say is like a logistics third party or not necessarily?
Yeah, usually it is because diesel is very expensive, right? Like the diesel is very expensive. It's used in the boats to like move things around. And as I said, like a lot of times, like it takes uh, usually they have like buses but boats that they don't not only take people, and sometimes like depending where you live it's like once a day or like once a week, depending where you live, like a boat will go there. And actually what you do is you get a small boat and you meet the boats in the river, and then you go inside, like the boat like is going, and then like you just attach it and go up, and then the boat keeps going, and it's a slow boat. And usually that those boat also deals with the logistics, but in order to own a boat like that you need to have a lot of money, so usually is and you spend a lot on diesel, so usually someone accumulates the profits because they are the ones that holds the power of this logistics. And I understand it's normal that they have part of the profits, but the problem is that sometimes, let's say, they will buy the acai from the local producer for, let's say, $2 for the bag, and then they will sell that in the big city for, let's say, Manaus, and they will sell it for $20 the bag. You know what I mean? So the difference is too big, and most of the profits stay with them. So if you can figure out the logistics that will make it possible for the local producer to sell it directly, that's some projects do that, and they are very successful there.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So anyone else, like group 8 or group 2, or you have many answers now.
Well,
I can go. You can go, please.
It's okay. Okay, you can go, please. Our group is on the. You can go,
I didn't
please.
get it.
It's okay.
Which one go? No, you go first. You can go first. The one that I don't know. I'm not being able to see who is talking, but I think it's, I don't know how to say your name. Sorry, but I would say Liu, your last name. So if you, how do I pronounce your name?
Liu is okay. My last name is okay.
Okay.
First name is too long for everyone. It's okay. Well, we are on the front. We just say it's an engine red. The red one on the right side. The beginning is to combat the activities of. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. To combat the activities of deforestation. You can see here, right?
Okay. Actually, it's a bit long about that. We have talked on teams, so I just choose some important ones.
Okay.
Is to combat the activities of deforestation and to prohibit the deforested activities and apply the artificial. Sorry, I cannot see it very clear. I have to find what I just say. Okay.
It's a artificial afforestation.
Yeah, artificial afforestation. Okay. Also, we plant trees in the desert. There are many. It's very important to plant trees in desert to keep the planet, to keep the water and the land. Also, we in our daily life to use recycled paper and also to print on the both sides for paper is important. And for my own, in the economics, we should buy the FSC certified green wood. It was for world to say that we should not to buy the illegal timber, Well, I have known about that every year. A lot of people to stolen the wood in the forest. Well, there's many forests that we shouldn't to cut down the trees in them. There are a lot of trees that we shouldn't be cut down because they were important and they were very less in the world.
Yeah.
And if we don't buy it, so the people will not cut it down to sell it.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you, Leo. Thank you for sharing. About that, I think I can make some comments. And first, thank you for sharing. And I agree with all of that. I think like to combat the activities of deforestation, for our experience here, like it's already prohibit the.
Sorry to bother. You haven't
Yeah.
person tried to get in the classroom.
I think I already authorized it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I don't know if that person is still trying, but I'm open. It's open here, the waiting room for me, and it's no longer appearing anyone. I just for a few seconds ago, I think I allowed it. So it's already prohibited. Almost. So you can have an idea. Like 94% of the deforestation activities are illegal, and so I mean the big problem is the illegal deforestation. I don't know what is artificial afforestation. I think that's a very interesting term. I will do some research about it. I believe it's, I don't know, like instead of animals doing the regeneration, like humans planting trees. I'm not sure. About planting trees in the desert, if you do that and you only do that, it won't work. But I really want you guys to. There is a guy called. I'm gonna send to Kyle, and Kyle will share with you guys a TED talk that it's how can you use livestock to regenerate desertified areas. It's a beautiful, beautiful TED talk that I think you guys are gonna love it, and I'm gonna ask him. So it's very interesting. Okay, how can we use, let's say, cows to actually regenerate desertificated areas? I think it's so beautiful, this idea, and you guys will be impressed with the before and afters with this methodology. And about paper, just also another comment. Paper is no longer a problem when we talk about trees in the Amazon, like because almost 100% of the industry of paper actually uses pinus. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's like a pine tree. I don't know how it is, but it's a tree that grows very quickly and actually it's sustainable nowadays. But definitely buy certified green wood. I think that's one of the most important ones. So nowadays I am like building a house that I'm gonna live with my family. We're moving from this place that I'm talking. And one of the things that I'm really worried is with if the wood that I'm buying is certified. So I think that's an amazing tip as well. Okay. Anyone else want to go?
Yes, we'd like to go. We are team 4.
Team 4, okay. So which one is team 4?
Okay, of course you don't see it. Could you scroll upwards, like
upwards, like okay, here? Okay, I'm in the top right now.
Yeah, right. There it is. It's on the left side in the yellow box.
Yellow one, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So the first idea was working together with communities in sustainable tourism. Which was brought up by one of our Peruvian team members. She had this idea of eco lodges and like basically generating income. So this is like the very related to the idea that you mentioned before, like that income generation is necessary so that local communities or local stakeholders do not have to do or engage in any deforestation activities, or like in general to not do any harm, but to do like good income, so to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
then like so we had like, you know, we had like individual level and team, or like I don't know, business level ideas. So another more individual level idea was just to reduce individual meat and soya consumption. And the last idea was brought up by one of our Chinese members. And she said basically that we should use traditional or local knowledge, for example, in agriculture or medicine, like use all this knowledge which has been accumulated in all the years and try to benefit from that and integrate it in our practices.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacob. That's beautiful. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think that ecotourism is something that we didn't talk about it, but it's huge and a huge potential. Also, like I know many projects in Amazon that does that. They do that. Again, like a lot of people from all over the world wants to get to know Amazon, right? So the only thing that I think we need to be careful is like how can we make this tourism actually sustainable, in a meaning that people come here and they respect the communities and the local customs and etc. So I don't really like when people are trying to, let's say, like feed the animals in a very artificial way and things like that, that in my opinion makes like it harms the local place. But in general, ecotourism is a beautiful idea. And about the individual aspects, I really enjoy that you guys brought that, and with meat and soy consumption, definitely. And about using traditional and local knowledge to agriculture styles, I think one perspective that I want to share with you guys that actually really changed my mind was to understand why even having like such a rich forest, why are we deforesting that forest to plant soy or grains or whatever, or like to have pasture for meat, like to feed the animals? And a teacher of mine actually told me something very interesting. He said that Brazil is a colony, right, from Portugal. And as every European colony, the most valuable land in Europe at the time was those lands that have the open fields where you can create animal, like at that time mostly pigs or sheep and etc. So if you have those big grassy areas where you can raise your animals, those were the most valuable areas. And also if you can plant your grains, so in order to plant soy you need to have a place, or rice. So anyway, like you have many examples of grains that it's good to have those places. So when the Europeans got in South America and they saw like those huge trees, for them that had no value because they don't have that in their continent. So they didn't know the potential of the local, they didn't know like the local knowledge and agriculture styles and etc. So they just cut everything down to do their own way. And I think that was a very interesting information for me. So yes, we definitely should understand better the traditional and the local knowledge. Guys, one more, and I think we are done, and maybe like, and then I will open for some questions if you guys have. Yeah. So one more group.
I can talk about the group 8.
Group 8, okay, Liza.
Yes, we try to talk about what we do daily. So we have applied the 5 R's in general: recycle, separating organic and recyclable products, and garbage, like reducing the consumption by doing it like more, I forgot the word, but like with awareness, like buying aware way, and reusing and recovering and repairing. I think that those are things that nowadays we are increasing the awareness. So I think that we are like doing it better in a better way, and as much as we do daily, we can apply it in our business and pass along to people around us.
Beautiful. Thank you. I really enjoyed the 5 hours. I think that this idea of separating organic waste, not only in the individual aspect, but in an organizational one, like at Facens, the university that is part of the group that I work, we recycle 100% of our organic waste. We make it compostaging. I don't know how to say that in English. It's compostation. I don't know, but and actually now we are creating a project where you're going to use the residual waste of the bathrooms to generate biogas, and that we're going to we're going to use this biogas in our kitchen, in our in the kitchen of the university. So definitely, I mean, many things we can do here. Water consumption is one of the things that we need to worry the most in Brazil. We are the biggest problem we have in Brazil as a continent, as a country, and South America as a continent, is the droughts that we have. And most we devastate and we deforestate the Amazon. The Amazon is actually the one who brings water to the entire South America. So many interesting points here. So thank you for. In my opinion, there is no logic anymore for us to have organic waste in my house. I do that. I don't know how to say. I do compostaging. I do this system where we put like the waste, and then we put like serragem. Fuck, I don't know how to say that, but it's like residual wood, very thin things, and also we put leaves, like dry leaves, and then we can put worms, and then I use that in the garden. So it's very easy, and actually much better for me, because then nowadays I don't have to deal with the waste anymore, like, you know, the plastic bags, they smell things, and then I have to throw it away. I just put that in my garden afterwards, and it's really nice. So yeah, many ideas that we can have. You raise your hand, you go ahead.
Yeah, we use it to do that here at home, like compostaging, but at some point it got like unavailable, because we produce a lot of organic garbage, and then but every time we have to throw it away, it like cuts our hearts in half, because it's just sad. We know what we could do with that, and sometimes
Yeah.
And
That's why, just an observation, Eliza. I think that's why also we need to, one really important things, like we cannot talk about sustainability and social impact without thinking about public policies, right? So if you really want to change something, we need to push our politicians to do better. So just an example, like here in Florianopolis, our mayor, he implemented a project that was actually an idea from the local movement here in Florianopolis, that nowadays we have a truck only for organic waste, that you don't even you cannot use plastic bags. You need to go there with the waste, and then you just throw it away. It's a different kind of truck. You just throw that away, and then they take that directly to compostation. I don't even know if that word exists, but compostation place where they do this process, and they use nowadays these fertilizer that come from this process actually to work in the public gardens and the public green areas. So it's a project that people from all over are talking about. So again, like, we need to push our governments and the public policy makers to act on that as well. So guys, I think that yes, we have, I can just go through some of them here, but what we did was to change. Okay, this one we already read it. I think we should first strengthen the infrastructure investment and construction in the Amazon region to create conditions for economic development. To get rich, we should first build roads. Secondly, we should revitalize the rich products in the Amazon, I think. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think this is a really good one about infrastructure, mostly logistics. I think that's something you guys can talk with Kyle and people from Cesupa because they're studying about it. But I think one of the biggest challenge is this infrastructure when we think about energy and logistics. So I think this is a very important topic. So guys, I think that's it. I want to leave a few minutes for questions if you guys have, and then I think we can finish. It's really late for people here in Brazil, so I just don't want to go over the time. So if you guys have any questions or any observations, feel free to talk. If you don't, we can say goodbye, and I really appreciate the time today we have together. Kyle, do you wanna bring something? Do you wanna
Can I make a question?
Yeah, please go ahead, me.
You turned the idea of the light in a bottle with profit, or just a social impact business?
Oh, that's an amazing question. So a lot of people think that the next step for NGOs is to become a social enterprise, right? So how can I go out of the model that I need donations to survive in order to actually be profitable and sell this product or service? I think, yes, we always should look to that. And at Leader of Light, we did a model where nowadays 50, if I'm not wrong, approximately 58% of our income comes from services that we sell to companies. So basically what we do is we sell corporate volunteering, as we call. So we make activities. We have done that with our BNB. I'm just naming some international organizations. So with Budweiser and I mean many other organizations like PepsiCo, where they hired us and we created this experience where their employees would go to the community with us, or even before that, we would build some solutions with the employees, and then we would take the solutions to the communities and install these technologies in the community. So most of our money nowadays comes from those services, but it's still like when we are talking about logistics in the Amazon, and we work not only in the Amazon River area, which is extremely far away, but we actually also work with quilombos, right? So for those who don't know what quilombo is those communities, very isolated communities usually, that were formed by slaves that ran away, and in order to not be found, they went to very far places where still nowadays it's difficult to access. And those are called quilombos, those communities. And we work with many of them, and the biggest one in the state of Goiás. So again, like the logistics are so expensive to get there. And sometimes when you get there, is to help 20 families, 30 families. So it's basically impossible for us to be profitable if we charge for that, because the money that I would have to charge those families for the technology would be, I mean, money that they wouldn't even dream to have it. Because so just for you to have an idea, only to pay for the boats that took us to the community that I showed you before, that is called Dominguinhos, 24 hours by boat. Only the money that we paid to get there, the boat stayed with us for 7 days, and then it came back with us afterwards. We paid 80,000 reais, which is like, I don't know, like $15,000. That for our organization is really expensive. So if we would, and we helped like 100 families. If I would divide that value, only that value for 100 and charge them, that would be impossible for them to pay. So some organizations, they work, let's say, the Medicals Without Borders. I mean, they cannot be profitable because they can't charge the people they're helping. So some organizations, they are meant to be social NGOs where they need donations to survive. So yes, we still need donations to survive, but of course that you can create business models where you don't need that, and you can generate social impacts or environmental impact being profitable as well. But we have 6 employees, they are all paid, you know what I mean? They all have their salaries and etc. So it can be a career. Like if you are the president of a Greenpeace, you do really great money, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a career that should be recognized as any other. Danilo.
Thank you.
I would just like to ask if you know about the how well navigable the rivers are in the Amazon. They are navigable rivers that are easy to access through not ships, but I don't know how to say it, little ships. I don't know how to say that the right name.
That depends a lot. When you think that 40% of South America is Amazon rainforest, like it's a huge amount of land, right? It's bigger than Europe. Like it's really, really big, the Amazon in general. So you're gonna have communities that you need to get a really small boat to get there, or even just get there by plane. Or yes, like those riverine communities I'm talking about, the ones we work with and the ones that Cesupa works with, they are reachable by boat, by those big boats, but that depends on the time of the year. So one thing that you guys need to understand is that we have the times where the tide is high and where the tide is low. And when the tide is high, basically you can go by boat to everywhere. And it's an amount of water that you wouldn't believe. But then when it's dry, when it's like the season 6 months, so let's say like in November it starts to go down, depending where. Like Manaus is one thing, Belém do Pará is another place. It's another thing. So depending where in the Amazon you are, the seasons are different. But there's sometimes the same place that hundreds of boats could be there navigating at the same time. When it's dry, you can actually walk on the river because it's land. You can ride a car there. So it's unbelievable to see the before and after during the droughts and during the floods. So it's something that you need to understand and you have a knowledge when you're doing projects there.
That makes it even harder to make logistics.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. It definitely makes it harder. Guys, one last question, if you have it, of course. If not, Caio, I want to give the word to you so you can some like finish as well.
So hello everyone, thank you so much for all the interactions today. I hope all the information, we know it's a lot of information, but Vitor has a lot of experience working here and also with sustainable projects. So it was a great pleasure to hear you out. I already sent you all the form, the feedback form, and also Vitor, if you could send me a PDF of today's presentation, so I always share with them. And thank you so much for everybody. Today we had more people. I'm happy about it. And tomorrow we're going to be together. The workshop will be with me. We're going to talk about marketing strategies and the blue ocean strategy ones and how to apply that to our region, because we have a brand that's really unique in the world when we think about the Amazon. But the challenge, as Danilo said, is huge regarding logistics, regarding all kind of challenge. But if you tune well and if you understand this challenge and overcome it, you will be, for most of the opportunities, pioneers. So it's worth it to understand this challenge and how to apply that. And we like to think that if you know how to do logistics in the Amazon forest and the Amazon region, you can do in any place else. So it's a great opportunity also for learning. And it was amazing what Peter said about if you want to help somebody, shut up and listen. That is amazing, because and most of the time you arrive in the place, in these small communities, as colonizers, and we just put our ideas without hearing people first, because we have our way of life and they have their way of life, and we have to adapt to that if we want to overcome this challenge. So thank you so much for everything today. I will be sending the report tomorrow until midday. Thank you so much, and we see each other tomorrow. Thank you, Vitor, and thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Kai. I'm just writing right now the name of the TED Talks that someone asked here. So one is the way we think about charity, is that wrong? And the other one is want to help someone, shut up and listen. So guys, thank you very much for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it was a rich experience for you all. And anything you guys need, Kyle has my contacts and can make the bridge between us, okay?